small, non-white, adolescent black girl.
I love that. Now, you're let me get this going. Back here on kjagradio.com, we have a tremendous guest with us. Go ahead and introduce yourself,
okay.
sir.
Doug Mitchell. I am currently a project manager and consultant for National Public Radio, where I have worked for almost 25 years.
Now, you have a heck of a presentation that you gave. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Okay, well, I had pitched the idea of multiculturalism in small-town America, because I grew up in Stillwater, Oklahoma. It's not tiny, but it's it's a college town. Everybody still knows everybody else. And I decided to talk about my parents, because they've always been a tremendous and remain a tremendous influence on me. The examples that they set for us, my sister and brother and I, as children, I still pay it forward today. It's one of the phrases that they have taught us. And
that's awesome.
Do things for other people, and they will do them for you.
Now, National Public Radio, how the heck do you end up in Hudson, Kansas, of all places?
Well, I drove. I pitched the idea, and I was trying to remember how did I find out about this, and I think it was on Twitter. And so I clicked. I think I just clicked on it. It said small town, and I grew up in one, so I clicked on it, and it said conference, and it said Hutchinson. I thought, I know where that is. Let me just pitch an idea. And so I pitched it to Becky, and she's like, okay, you're in. I thought, oh, okay. Now I got to figure out what I'm going to talk about.
There you go.
But no, it was easy enough for me to do. It's I grew up in this part of the country, and while I spend a lot of time flying over it these days, I think it's important for those of us who grew up in these parts of the country to come back to them, and then set an example. It's like I was telling you, you come up and be an example for other people.
Well, I don't know. I was an example for other people earlier. I don't know how we pulled that off. But talk to me a little bit about radio. It is in trouble.
Well, I'll put it this way. Yes, it is on the commercial side. No, it's not on the non-commercial side. Public radio audiences have been growing for many, many years. And I think it's because, one, I'm a journalist. I don't express myself.
So you're an endangered species.
Yes, we are. Everybody is now. But I think our audiences are growing. I think there are more and more people that have discovered who we are. We used to not be on, do commercials or anything. I thought, we'll just leave that to those people. We're not there anymore. And I think also because of the changing demographics of our society, I think by having a broader philosophy about who should be covered, community engagement, what stories do they have to tell, and also recognize that because people can tell their own story, bring them in too. And our bottom line is, almost 75% of the money we get is from listeners. It's 2 or 3% from the government. So that's not there anymore either. So the drive to maintain your self-sufficiency comes from you having to engage your audience and your users and your consumers.
That's cool. Now, talk to me a little bit about where you see public radio going, programming-wise and format-wise and things like that.
I think what's going to need to happen, as I just alluded to, is that stations are going to have to find out who are they talking to, who have they been talking to, and who do they need to talk to. And I think it's that latter part that they haven't done a very good job of. But we're working on it. And I think it has to be decentralized to a degree. Not everything comes out of Washington, D.C. Not everything comes out of Los Angeles. At Oklahoma State, I worked at the station there. We talked to people who live there, or within the signal range. And I think stations have to go back to connecting with people.
Yeah, you can't. It seems like that they just throw it, and whether it's public radio or commercial radio, they just throw on the syndicated programming and go, there you go.
Well,
because all things considered is on. It seems like 24 hours of the day.
Well, it's only on for 3.
Oh, okay.
But I think what you're alluding to is the way that the programming is blocked or structured, and that it sounds very similar throughout the course of the day. It's actually somebody last night at dinner was talking about, now people in public radio, they all sound alike. How do you work on that? I said, well, that's the problem. We need accents. We need accents on the air.
There is no boot camp for public radio.
Well, that's what I ran, but I ran it for young people. I didn't run it for mid-career and long people as old as me now. But so that was part of the mission, was to go out and reach into the communities and train people with the idea of how do you hold a microphone, how do you ask questions, how do you write. Writing is very important. It doesn't matter whether you're in what was print, or now you write for the web, and that's different from writing for print, and then writing for broadcast is different from the others. So we have to teach these skills, get to kids while they're young. That way they get interested in what we're doing, and it's not, oh, it's classical music, I don't care about that. I mean, I was like that.
Yeah.
And I got interested because I became a journalist, and became interested in news, and I was a writer, and et cetera, et cetera. So the pathway is a little more complicated now, but I think it's doable.
Well, that's cool. Well, how do we find you on Twitter and Facebook
I'm at,
and all these places?
Next Gen Radio on Twitter, and I also have an entrepreneurship project with another Twitter account, but I don't check that one. It's at Unity News, News, and I'm on Facebook and I'm on LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. And my pictures, my lovely pictures, they're not on radio, but you can see it.
I think this is awesome that your Twitter handle is Next Gen Radio, because there is a piece of radio software called the Next Gen. And I'm shocked that you were able to get that Twitter handle.
I cyber squat. Now I busted myself.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate
All right,
it.
appreciate
and
it.
Thanks for listening to KJAGradio.com.